Muy buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Allow me please to, first of all, thank you for waiting. We just finished our consultations on the Ebola outbreak in DRC, and the Security Council has adopted some press elements, and I'd like to start by reading that out first, and then we will continue with our program of work for this month, if you agree with that. Okay? So, regarding the press elements, members of the Security Council were briefed by the Director General of the WHO on the latest developments with regard to the outbreak of Ebola in the DRC. Members of the Security Council called for immediate cessation of hostilities by all armed groups and encouraged the international community to continue to support ongoing efforts of WHO and the DRC combating and mitigating the spread of the Ebola virus, and further noted the challenging environment and the need for timely response by all actors. Members of the Security Council highlighted the urgency of the medical response because the disease could spread rapidly, including to neighboring countries, possibly impacting regional stability. Members of the Security Council reiterated their appreciation for the efforts of the government of the DRC, the World Health Organization, MONUSCO, and the international community to address and contain the disease, noting the challenging operating environment. Members of the Security Council urged all parties to the conflict to ensure safe and unhindered access for humanitarian and medical personnel to patients and others in need, and also stressed the response teams must never, under any circumstances, be a target. Members of the Security Council underscored in this context that more needs to be done to address the security situation and condemned all attacks against civilians. Members of the Security Council expressed the need to continue to follow developments closely. Members of the Security Council remain committed to engaging with relevant stakeholders on this issue during their upcoming field visit to the DRC. Thank you for your attention. And now, should I do it in English or Spanish? English? Okay. Maybe both, yes. Well, as I said, thank you for waiting. We just want to brief you on our key meetings and events of the Bolivian presidency of the Security Council. Of course, we are honored to preside this main organ of the system. Our key meetings for our presidency, one of them is going to be held on the 16th of October, and we will have a debate under the agenda item of maintenance of international peace and security. And the issue that we want to tackle is the root causes of conflict and the role of natural resources. We expect, we were informed that the Secretary General will be the main briefer. A concept note will be distributed very soon. We are proposing to go beyond the reason of lack of governance, of poor management of natural resources as the main focus of our discussion. Instead, we suggest taking into consideration the role of international financial networks, foreign interests, and armed groups whose presence and actions on the ground are an important factor in either contributing to keep stability or generating the conditions for the outbreak of violent conflict. Also, of course, one of the main objectives is to discuss how to control exploitation and access to natural resources has been a catalyst for outbreak, escalation, and continuation of conflicts, including unlawful invasions and the destabilization of states, causing humanitarian disasters and long-term consequences. The second key meeting will be held on the 25th of October. You know that we have a yearly open debate on women, peace and security. That's going to be on the 25th. We are convening a meeting at a ministerial level. Also, the Secretary General will be our main briefer. We plan to have a Palestinian representative from civil society and also some other briefers. The concept will be circulated as well. And we want to focus this debate on the discussion on the political and economic empowerment of women as a means of inclusion and enhanced participation of women in peace processes. We also have, as you know, the quarterly open debate on the Middle East, including the Palestinian question. We are planning on having additional briefers that will be confirmed in due time. Another key event of our presidency is, of course, the mission to the DRC that will start tomorrow until early next week. We are co-leading, we're proud to co-lead this visit with our French and Equatorial Guinean colleagues. And as you know, one of the key focuses of this visit is the upcoming elections on the DRC, and also, as we have discussed today with the members of the Council, the outbreak of the Ebola virus in that country. Also, along with our friends from Poland and the Netherlands, we are planning to discuss, hopefully adopt during this month a resolution on mine action, following the one that we adopted during the month of June of last year. Then, as you've seen in our program of work that has already been adopted, we have meetings on MINURSO, Syria, a briefing on Colombia on the 10th of October. That will be, of course, very important due to the change of government in that country. Also, there's the end of mandates of some peacekeeping missions, and for instance, we are planning to adopt a resolution on the support of UNISFA on October the 15th. We have consultations on UNDOF. We are going to follow up the political track on Syria, MINUSMA, UNAMID, MINUSCA. As I said, also regarding UNISFA, we have the annual briefing by the President of the International Court of Justice to the Security Council. We have a meeting also on Cyprus. This year reports on progress towards a settlement and implementation of Resolution 2430. And at the end of by the end of that day, the 30th, we will have an informal wrap-up session during the afternoon. There's a possibility, of course, as you know, that we might have some other meetings during the month if there is a need, a request from any member of the Council, or an emergency. That's a quick list of the issues that we want to tackle during this month. So I'm open to your questions if there's any. Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Shauna McGee from Kyoto News, and on behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association, thank you so much for having this briefing. Good luck. And I hope you're available to us. You and your press team will keep us updated as others have, so please. I would like to ask you about North Korea. I don't see it on the agenda. A lot happened last month under the chairman, the meeting presided by Secretary Pompeo.
Yes.
A lot of meetings in the region. Do you expect holding any meetings under your presidency? Have you had any requests? And secondly, if I may, ask about the update on the 1718 report, which was due out last month, and there were differences of opinion about the content. What is the status on that right now? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let's, please. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Jordan Nakamsi from Jordan. I have a question about the issue of Palestine. I just, if you can tell us who's the main briefer from the Secretariat? Is he going to be the SG or the Special Envoy? And also, you wrote with your colleagues a few months ago a letter to the SG asking them to have the report on settlements in writing. And still we don't have anything in writing. Can you tell us why? Another question, in your own opinion as ambassador of Bolivia, why do you think all resolution from the Security Council on Palestine never been executed? Is it because they are from Chapter 6 and would be one day that the Security Council will adopt a resolution under Chapter 7 where they have at least the resolution has a teeth that can have sanctions or something? Gracias, Senor.
Muchas gracias. Please.
Thank you, Ambassador, and I'd like to wish you a fruitful presidency. Regarding the 16th briefing, besides the Secretary General, will there be anyone else briefing? Also, at which level will Bolivia be represented? And finally, I'd like to know if Bolivia will be discussing any specific examples regarding the role of natural resources in conflict. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, we're going. Please.
During the week of the general debate, there was a lot of discussion of attempts to organize Brazil, Colombia, Peru, and can't remember the fourth country, to provoke some kind of conflict with Venezuela. I don't know whether this has reached a level where it would be handled in the Security Council, but do you have any comment about that?
Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much, Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. One follow-up on North Korea. Russia has said that they plan to circulate a draft resolution which would endorse the progress that's been made on the North Korea track. Have you seen any draft, and is this something that you're expecting during your presidency? And on the trip to Congo, could you elaborate a little more on who you're going to see? What's the Security Council's message going to be to President Kabila, to the opposition, to everybody else that you're going to meet with?
Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you. Afrah Nasser, Yemeni journalist from the Atlantic Council. I read the Security Council program of work for October, and as you know, Yemen is the world's largest humanitarian crisis. And I was wondering why Yemen was only at the footnotes of the program. Don't you think it deserves more attention than that? And why I was blocked by Bolivia UN mission Twitter account when I made that statement that it was at the footnotes of the program. They blocked me on Twitter.
We're going to unblock you right away. I don't know. I have no idea. But please.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, and congratulations. I'm Abdul Hamid Saem, Qatar Arabi.
First, about the natural resources. as you know, that Israel takes 80% of its water from the occupied West Bank. And this issue has not been discussed thoroughly at the Security Council. Would this special meeting or the signature meeting of Bolivia would focus on that issue? On the other hand, also, I ask the President of the Security Council, every President of the Security Council, if you ever suggest to take the Security Council in a field trip to Gaza to see with your own eyes what's going on there. Would you, under your presidency, suggest that? I know maybe there will be difficulties, but would you even suggest this visit to Gaza? Thank you very much.
Okay, please.
Thank you, Ambassador. Evelyn Leopold, Independent Media and Dag Hammarskjöld Fund for Journalists. When you're looking at resources as a basis for conflict, are you going to be looking at that in the DRC, which seems to have a whole history of it? Yes. And secondly, which aspect of the continuing Ukrainian-Russian conflict are you looking at in non-proliferation at the footnote here?
Okay, allow me just to answer those questions, and then we'll have a second round. On the issue of the DPRK, we are not planning a meeting. We had, as you mentioned, one at the end of the month, which was the last meeting of the council. But of course, if there is need for that, the council will meet. Regarding the status of the 1718 report, discussions are still going on in the council. That's how far I can go in terms of the information. And there's no draft, though we haven't received any draft. No one has circulated any draft regarding DPRK yet. We don't know if that will happen. Then regarding Palestine, there were a few questions. The main briefer will be Mr. Mladenov, the special envoy. And this is the quarterly open debate on that. I think we have in terms of the resolution on settlements, the next meeting will be on December. And the 10 members of the council that have sent a letter to the Secretary General asking for a written report have all of them mentioned that issue in the last meeting that we have regarding this resolution, that we are expecting to have, as it is common understanding. We are expecting to have a written report on that resolution. Then on our meeting on the 26th on natural resources, we haven't decided yet in which level my country will be represented, but we are planning to have a high-level representative on that meeting. We are going to have another briefer, but we haven't confirmed that name yet. As soon as we have that, you will be informed. Then on what issues should be tackled, I mean, if I may say a couple of things in my national capacity, of course, for us, as President Morales has stressed in his statement and Security Council, natural resources is a very, very important issue if we talk about conflicts. It is one of the root causes of conflicts, the competition for natural resources. And we know that natural resources has been a reason why in different moments in our recent history, the UN Charter has been violated. Just to mention a couple of examples, the invasion to Iraq is extremely linked to oil. And also the issue that one of you mentioned regarding Palestine. The natural resources, of course, is one of the reasons of the occupation. We hope that we discuss those kind of issues within the members of the Security Council while we address this one. On Venezuela, we have no plans of having any meetings regarding Venezuela. I can say that in my national capacity, and we have stressed this in different meetings of the Council, Venezuela is not a threat to international peace and security, and it does not belong in the agenda of the Security Council. Also, regarding Yemen, we are, of course, ready to have a meeting on Yemen if it's requested by any members. We believe, and I speak in my national capacity, that it is not just one of the worst tragedies that we are facing as a family, the human family, but also it is a man-made disaster. And, of course, the Security Council has a responsibility there. And regarding your Twitter account, I have no idea, but I will ask my colleagues not to block anyone. No one should be blocked by that. On the DRC, the trip will meet the Vice Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. A meeting with President Kabila is still to be confirmed. Also, the Prime Minister is to be confirmed. We are planning to have meetings with the civil society representatives, with the leaders of the opposition, with the CENI, and also with MONUSCO. As I have pointed out, one of the issues would be the upcoming elections, of course, and also now the recent outbreak of the Ebola virus. I think
what's the Council's message going to be in Congo?
To uphold the resolutions that the Council has already adopted on this particular issue, and that's what I can say so far. Gaza, the visit to Gaza. I mean, we have proposed, and we said it in one of the open meetings, that the Council should go to Gaza, not Gaza, also to the West Bank. It should pay a visit to Palestine. If we would have more time in the Council, we would keep on insisting on that issue. Let's hope that in the future that becomes a reality. The Council has visited many different regions of the world, and this is one of the most important issues from our point of view that the Council deals with. It's according to where you see it from, 50 years or 70 years in which the United Nations has not fulfilled its promise for a Palestinian sovereign state, and we would, of course, welcome a visit to that to Palestine. Yes, sir, please.
Muchas gracias, Señor Presidente. My name is Abadi. Looking at the provisional program you have before you now, before us all, I see that the subject of MINUSO is listed 4 times. Why is it necessary to have it 4 times listed? What do you anticipate?
Thank you. Who else, please?
Estrada from Prensa Latina, and I'm going to speak in Spanish, if you allow me.
I'd like to ask a question to you in your national capacity, because there's some issues in Latin America and the Caribbean that are quite significant. The maritime request put forth by Bolivia and the evaluation that will be done by the General Assembly. Could you give us your views on this? Thank you.
Yes. Please.
Yes, Rhonda Halbin, and I'm a blog columnist at TATS, Die Tageszeitung, and my question is about the sanctions on the DPRK. One of the sanctions is on, essentially has led to the TB fund, the funding for TB that has been taken away, and UNICEF has lost the ability to have its people administering I think it's TB, malaria, and other things. There's other very serious problems from the way these sanctions are being administered. Is the Security Council going to look into this? Because it doesn't seem that the Committee of Experts is capable of overseeing this in a way that respects the fact that humanitarian activity is supposed to be going on, and it's not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Haruyo Miyamoto from Tokyo Broadcasting System. Thank you very much for today's briefing, and I would like to hear your view on sanction regime. In the Security Council, a certain member state says that all member states must fully implement sanctions against DPRK. That's all the time what they say. But at the same time, the same country itself doesn't comply with Security Council resolutions sometimes. For example, what we've seen with the Iranian nuclear deal, the country has just withdrew from the nuclear deal, and then which means they don't comply the Security Council resolution. So as I'm a bit worried that this kind of unilateral action might undermine the authority of Security Council resolution or sanction. And so as the President, how would you restore the authority of the Security Council resolution, especially as the presidency after U.S.?
Thank you very much. Just please. And then, sir. And we'll do another round.
Thank you. Aida Tama, Deutsche Welle. I have a question regarding the program last day. There is the UNMIC report and some other about Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I would like to know a little bit more what to expect. Is the report this 3-monthly report, or is something special, or is the...
Bosnia? Thank you very much. Thank you. Sir.
George Baumgarten, Mr. President. Thank you very much for this briefing. My best wishes for your presidency. The trip to the DRC, can you tell us a little bit more about your program? Will you be going anywhere outside of Kinshasa? Will you be going where there are reports of the Ebola outbreak? I've been seeing the reports of the Ebola outbreak, but it's not always clear exactly where it is. Is it up in the Kivu provinces in the northeast, or the center, or somewhere in between? And also, on the 25th, do I understand correctly, you're going to have a Palestinian representative from civil society? Is that on the 25th debate, or the one a week earlier on the 18th, which I assume is including the Palestinian question? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, Nizar Aboud of Al Mayadeen Television. First of all, are you going to follow the American example by making the statement of the President of the Security Council first? This tradition was established last month by the U.S. mission here. Are you going to follow that example, or will you follow the old example that the President speaks last? Another question is regarding Yemen. I don't think there's any more urgency for international peace and security and the safety of the people more than Yemen. Why Bolivia did not raise the question that Yemen should be put as a priority here?
Thank you very much. And the last one, please.
This is a follow-up of Rhonda's question. In the meeting on non-proliferation, Sergei Lavrov spoke out against the weaponization of health care, medical care. And in the case of the malaria, the Global Fund for Malaria, AIDS, and Tuberculosis, cutting funding to patients who are being treated for tuberculosis will lead almost inevitably to resistant strains of tuberculosis, which are much more difficult to treat and also which could create a pandemic. And so I raised the issue with Sergio Lavrov of the use of medical care or the withholding of medical care actually being a form of biological warfare, creating diseases that did not need to exist. He said that he saw the withholding of medical care and the grotesque failure of the humanitarian exemptions. He saw it as a violation of the sanctions. So since China and Russia are being yelled at for violating the sanctions, why are not the other countries being criticized for violating the sanctions in their failure to implement the humanitarian exemptions to the resolution sanctions against North Korea? Sweden is the only country which has actually made an issue of this.
Thank you very much. Please.
Samar Nader from El Nashra, Lebanon. The Security Council will discuss this month on 23rd the resolution 1559 concerning Lebanon, about Lebanon. This resolution was made to withdraw the Syria army forces from Lebanon. And the Syria army are out of Lebanon since 2000. So what you're going to discuss in this resolution?
That's the 15th, right?
23rd of October, 1559.
1559. Report due 1559. Is that? Yeah. Okay, please.
Yeah, today the ICJ issued a statement on the U.S. and Iran, saying the U.S. has to compensate. There was a case in 2015 between Bolivia and Chile, which I guess was issued. The ICJ issued a statement against Bolivia. Do you accept that pronouncement?
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. Okay. I hope I cover all your questions. On MINURSO, one of you rightly said that MINURSO is mentioned 4 times in the program of work. We are supposed to have a troop contributing countries meeting on MINURSO. We have consultations on MINURSO, and we have the adoption of a resolution because the mandate of MINURSO expires at the end of the month. Remember that we adopted a resolution 6 months ago, and it gave just 6 months of mandate. So that's why you will find MINURSO mentioned 4 times in the program of work. On DPRK, we have established clearly that sanctions should not have humanitarian consequences, and we have pointed out in our last meeting that the committee is dealing with the humanitarian exceptions. So, and of course, we are keeping an eye on that. Regarding the sanctions regimes, how to restore the credibility or authority of the Security Council, that's a very, very good question. And I like to say that one of the first steps that we should all take is for everyone to comply with the Council's resolutions, and there should be no exceptions for that. One of you asked about the Bosnia and UNMIK. We have mentioned that because there's a report due on Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the mandate cycle. We need that's the end of the mandate cycle report. That's why it's mentioned on the 31st. On DRC, as I said. The council will just visit Kinshasa we didn't have any plans to go anywhere else, and all the meetings will be held that. It is going to be a short visit, really, and that was, I think, the question on DRC. The briefer on women, peace and security, open debate. Yes, it is. When we talked about a Palestinian briefer, that's for the 25th, the open debate on women, peace and security. We want to, as president of the council, we want to highlight the issue of Palestine as much as we can. It is a priority for my country, and we will have, of course, a Palestinian civil society representative for women, peace and security. On Yemen, we had 2 meetings on Yemen last month. We are open to have and ready to have as many meetings as needed on that particular issue. We don't. The fact that it is not on the program, it doesn't mean that we don't consider it important. As I said, we did have 2 meetings in September, and if there is any need for another meeting, we will have one. The 1559. You know that there are discussions that are based on the respect of sovereignty of Lebanon. That's another example of how to really uphold the authority of the Security Council, as you might find. As it is not a surprise, the list is not short of those kind of issues. I think that I hope I cover all your questions.
ICJ?
No, I have one at the ICJ. I would like to do this in Spanish, as it was also asked by one of your Spanish-speaking colleagues on two issues. The first one on the blockade against Cuba, el bloqueo en contra de.
So the blockade against Cuba, this is not on the Council agenda for the Security Council, but for my country, it is of the greatest of importance. It's a priority. The date for when the General Assembly will be once again voting on that resolution is the 31st of October. So during our Council presidency, as you will have seen, we haven't got any meetings planned for that day, because we believe that the attention of all members of the organisation should be focused on that important session, which will attest to the respect for multilateralism we have and condemnation of unilateral actions. And for us, it'll be an opportunity for us to acknowledge the courage and valour of the Cuban people. We know what Bolivia's position will be in this important session. As to the decision by the International Court of Justice on the request put forward by Bolivia on the obligation to negotiate sea access to the Pacific Ocean against the Republic of Chile, Bolivia respects the decision of the court but does not share that decision. There have been a number of elements within that decision which we have found to be contradictory, and within the context of our rights, we will make these known at a timely moment to the necessary bodies by our authorities.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just follow-up to my question on MINIRSO, why it was necessary to have it 4 times listed, unusual procedure. My second part of the question that I would like you to answer is, what do you anticipate regarding that question?
the second part, it's really hard for me to say. We did have, as you remember, a debate, and the resolution was not adopted unanimously the last time. We might have some concerns from some member states, but let's see. It's really hard for me to say in advance what the issues would, what kind of issues would be problematic. But we are following the usual procedure in order to debate this resolution. We have to wait until the date of the adoption, which is the 29th. Now the very, very last one, please.
Thank you, Ambassador. I wanted to ask a question following on from from Horst Köhler, the special envoy, who has sent invitations to the parties for a meeting in Geneva before the end of the year. For your country, is this a step forward in the negotiating process? Do you think it's sufficient to extend things as they are now, or would you like to see some kind of change to the mission, as has been discussed over recent months? Thank you.
Ha sido en español, ¿no?
So this is in Spanish, I think, isn't it? Well, the Security Council has expressed its support for the efforts of the Special Envoy, the personal Special Envoy, the Secretary General. Of course, we wish him every success. This is something which should be resolved through negotiations, and we hope that the meetings set for the end of this year will be successful. We are waiting for the pen holder to put forward their proposal to discuss the draft resolution. And in the meantime, we can't go any farther about any particular position about a text that we haven't yet seen.
Patience, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you.